Hey everybody, this is Jason from Howard Brothers True Value, and today I'm going to do actually two recipes from home. Two of my family's favorite. It's been quite a few years since I've done them, and it just came to me the other day. So what I'm going to be doing today is called a seafood loaf or crawdad loaf. It has crayfish, shrimp, Monterey Jack cheese, all inside of it. Looks like a loaf of bread. And then I'm also doing a pepperoni loaf. I'm sure a lot of people have had a pepperoni loaf, but I was doing both. Some of my family members don't like seafood, and some of us do. So I'm gonna do them both, and I'm doing them on the Traeger today. So to start with, I always make my dough from scratch. It's quite simple. Basically, I'm gonna take a package of yeast, some sugar, and 1 1/4 cups of warm water. I'm gonna put this in the mixer, stick it on the KitchenAid, and let it go until it starts to foam, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I've got the yeast has been sitting here in the water. I'm stirring it, just letting it, starting to activate with the warm water and sugar. And you'll start seeing bubbles in the water, knowing that your yeast is active, which I've got a little bit of foam going on here. So I know the yeast is good. Now it's time to add the flour. Now I've got 3 1/2 cups of flour, and I'm gonna add just a little bit at a time. And just to let you know, if you don't have a KitchenAid, I mean, you can still do this by hand, but the KitchenAid makes it so easy for you. So I'm just adding the flour a little at a time. Don't want to dump it all in right at once. And as that's going in, you're going to kind of keep an eye on it. If it looks dry, you can add a little bit more water, but this should be pretty accurate. So all the flour is in. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Two tablespoons of olive oil. And then I'm just going to let that sit here until it turns into a dough and balls up around the dough hook. And it usually takes about 4 to 5 minutes. I can't tell you how long it would take doing it by hand. I'm sure considerably longer. But I'm just going to let that ball up, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Okay, so the dough is finished. It climbed up the hook and started forming up around the hook. So what I've done is I've taken it out, and I've been turning it in on itself, making it into a ball. And then what you do is just take a little bit of 1 teaspoon or so of olive oil. You just want to grease a deep bowl of some kind. Set it in there. Put a little bit on your hands and rub the top of your dough. You don't want it to dry out and you don't want it to stick to the bowl. But make a nice little ball, sit it in there, cover it with a towel. And it says wait till it doubles in size, which usually takes about an hour. So I'm just going to keep this in a fairly warm spot. I'll sit it right over here, and that'll be ready to go in an hour, so we can go on to phase 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and make the second dough ball, because like I said, I'm doing the pepperoni loaf and I'm doing the crawdad bread. So this makes 1 loaf. So every batch, you'll have to make another batch if you're doing multiple loaves. So the recipe I just gave you is to do 1 loaf. So I'm going to make a second one now. See you in a bit. So while I was in the process of making this seafood bread and the pepperoni loaf, the family all started kind of finding out what I had going on, and they all didn't want to miss out on it. So I've now recruited 2 of my 3 daughters who are helping me out. They're in the process of taking all the tail meat out of the crawdads, and they also, since I got so many people coming over, we've gone from 1 loaf of crawdad bread and 1 loaf of pepperoni loaves. We're doing 2 and 2. But now I've got 4 loaves rising right now. And like I said, it's gonna take about an hour. They've been in here for about 20 minutes. So I just got a towel over them, letting them rest. And as soon as the girls get done taking the meat out of the crawdads, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna make the filling for the seafood loaf. And I wanna get that done so we can cool completely too before I wrap it. But I'll show you how I do that in just a minute. All right, everyone. So while the bread is rising, like I said, I'm gonna make the filling that's gonna go into the seafood bread. And now, visually this is a lot more, but I'm gonna tell you what you use for 1 loaf. Like I told you, I'm doing 2 because all the families coming over. So basically you're going to take 1/2 of a yellow onion, 1/2 of a yellow bell pepper, 1/2 of a red bell pepper, 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and we're going to put that in the pan here, and we're just going to saute it till the onions and the green peppers get nice and soft. Now you can use green bell peppers. Not only they taste all right, but I also like the visual of how it looks when you cut into it. I like the color of the red and the yellow. But basically, I'm just going to saute these until they're nice and softened up. And right when they're about done, I will then add the crayfish tails. And I usually like to use salad shrimp because they're a very small shrimp. I couldn't find any, so I bought the small shrimps and cut them in half. That will all go in here. I'll stir it up, kind of warm up the meat from the crayfish and the shrimp. Then I will drain all the juices, put it in a Tupperware container, and stick it in the fridge. I want this to be completely cool when it comes time to stuff the loaf of bread. I don't want to do it warm. So yeah, I'll finish this up. I'm gonna get it stuck in the refrigerator to cool down, and I'll be back with you on the next step. All right, y'all, so the dough has been sitting for about an hour. I pulled the first one out of the little container, and I've rolled it out into a fairly nice square. And the first one I'm gonna do is the pepperoni mozzarella pepperoni bread. So depending how cheesy you want it or how much pepperoni you want, you can do it how you want. Now this is an 8-ounce package. I'm actually gonna put 2 on this. But what I wanna do is I wanna stay a good 1/2 inch away from all the sides. And then put a layer of pepperoni. And we'll speed this up later. Like I said, you can make this as much in it or as little in it as you want. Okay, so we like a lot of pepperoni and lots of mozzarella cheese in our pizzas and in our bread. So I actually used 1 entire package of 6-ounce pepperoni and 2 8-ounce bags of mozzarella. So now if you come in here, you'll see that I've left a good 1/2 inch to, I don't know, 3/4, 1 inch around the edge. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna roll it. Oh, and when I rolled this out, I tried to make it about 1/8 of an inch thick, the bread, all the way around. I put a little flour down first, give it something to roll easily on. And so now all we're gonna do is we're gonna start rolling this up. I always roll towards me. It makes it easier that way. And then I'll take the ends, pinch them, fold them under. The ends, pinch them, fold them under, and then I will roll it so I can get a view of the seam. And then I will finish packing it all in. Nice and tight. Try to seal up the ends so nothing comes out. Roll her back over and move her onto a cookie sheet with some parchment paper. Shape her up. Get off some of the extra flour. It's all right if there's flour on there. And then I'm going to take an egg wash, brush it all over her. This is going to give it the nice, crispy, golden look when it's done. And then when I'm done with this, I'm going to put some saran wrap over her and let her sit again until she doubles in size, which will be about another hour. And then we'll come back and show you what we do next. Okay, so we got the pepperoni loaf sitting there, the first one, sitting there just rising again. And now I'm going to do the seafood one. So what this consists of course, once again, I put some flour down and I've rolled this out to about 1/8 of an inch thickness. And we're not actually gonna roll this one. We're gonna make it like a pie. So I've got 1 8-ounce bag of Monterey Jack cheese. And I'm gonna put it on 1/2 of my dough, or roughly 1/2 of my dough. Still leaving an edge. I don't want to get too close to that edge because we're going to seal it when it's done. Because I am making 2 of these, this is a double batch, so I'm going to take half of this, and it has been cooling in the refrigerator. It smells wonderful already. And I'm going to put it right on top of the Monterey Jack cheese here. And once again, I can't reiterate enough how cooling this down is very important. Try to get it kind of evenly spread out. I'm trying to gauge about what is half of it. And I'm using a spoon that's got slats in it because I want to leave the juice behind. I know we strained it before we put it in the fridge, but I want to make sure we don't want a lot of juice in this. And that looks like, I'd say it's about half, maybe, I guess. I don't know, maybe one more little scoop here. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this other half, fold it over so that the edge meets. I'm going to take a fork, press down and slightly pulling away all around the edges. And the bowls in the way. Then I'm going to come back. Let me push that out a little bit more. Make sure you got a decent little area, because what we're going to do is we're going to fold this forked edge over, and we're going to press it again a second time. To make sure we get a good seal in there. Now you're going to have a very big crust edge. Some people like to eat that, some people don't. Personally, not me so much, but I just want to ensure that this stays very nice and sealed. That looks pretty good. Then we're going to pick this bad boy up. Once again, put it on another cookie sheet. And the key to this now is I'm going to put 3 slits. Just 3 little slits along the top. I'll brush it down with some egg wash. I have to get more egg wash. We're making so many. I'll brush this with egg wash. I will then sprinkle a little kosher salt over the top. Again, cover it with saran wrap and let it sit for about another hour to rise. And I'll show you what we do after that. Here they are, just resting. Okay, so it's been about another hour, and you can see both the loaves are risen almost twice as much. So now what we're gonna do, I've got the Traeger, it's been warm about the last 10 minutes. We put it on 400 degrees, and we're gonna put these on for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then I'll show you when it's done. So here we go. Yeah, fortunate I've got 2 of them. Like I said, 400 degrees. 400 degrees. And I said 20 minutes, I'm gonna look at it, 20 to 25 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. All right, it's been, I checked it at 20 minutes, so I went to 25, and I believe we're good to go now. Got a nice crust on it. Little golden color on this one. And over here, oh yeah. Look at that. So here is the seafood bread. Here's a pepperoni loaf. We're gonna take it inside, cut it up, and check it out, right? So here we go. I let them sit for just a few minutes, and now I'm gonna cut into them, and let's just take a look and see what we got going on. The end will be more doughy than anything else, which is exactly right. Nice, fluffy with a good crust. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Put that on there. Pretty good. One downside about these pans, they got the lip on them, so you can't really cut them. All right, stop that. Now I'm cutting into the seafood one, or the crayfish one, as I call it, and the end will always be more doughy. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can get that out of the way. Look at it, it's oozing out. Oh my gosh, so good. So good. Oh my gosh. So there y'all go. Try it out yourself. What you cooking on your Traeger?